Welcome to Withdraw Consent. I'm Jack. Today I want to do this episode focus on how would you explain to a Christian Zionist not to support Zionism or Israel, or we'll just say Israel as a Zionist country in its current form. And basically I was working this out with Victor, and I think it's important to know this stuff to see what we're thinking and maybe alter it how you want to. Because when I did that episode very recently where it says Trump needs to be a Zionist to be elected because it's just a political reality that evangelical Christians are Christian Zionists. And then that's a big problem because it's not loyalty to the United States, we'll just say. So basically we worked it out like this, like a little flow chart, right? You say you support Israel. Yes. Why do you support Israel to a Christian? Because they're God's chosen people, right? Why are they God's chosen people? Now, at this point, it's going to branch off into two different potential answers, right? One, they're going to say, ethnically, they're God's chosen people, even though they've fallen away spiritually, okay? Now, basically, I'm going to point you to two videos we did fairly recently. Victor and I did them together, and I'm going to put them as the first references below. I'm going to put, I'll put, like, the title will be like ethnic argument, I'll put. And then there'll be two episodes under that. The first one's called The Old Testament is Not About Jews. And in that one, just briefly, I covered how they went into the Babylonian captivity. The tribe of Judah did, which are Jews. And everybody, the 10 tribes went to Assyrian captivity before that, and they're just completely lost to history, you know? And so then there's these two tribes plus the Levites among them. And when they come out of the Babylonian captivity, they attack the Edomites. After several wars, they defeat the Edomites, and I go through the lineage and stuff in the Bible. They're expressly prohibited from intermarrying with these people. But instead, they defeat them and say, hey, you've got to be circumcised. Now you're Jews too. And they intermarry with these people, and they came from Esau. Esau was ruddy and hairy, unlike Jacob and his brother. And the Jews came from Jacob, who's literally later renamed Israel, and they came from several of his sons, Judah. And anyways, so then they lost their ethnicity right there, and they just completely intermingled, right? And then in the second video in this series, it's called Modern Jews Are Not Who You Think They Are. And I talk about the three different branches of Jews, the Mizrahi who stayed in the Middle East and intermarried with all of the adjacent populations, Iranians, Iraq, Assyrians, all of these different people. And then there's there's the Ashkenazi who went north, and then they lived with the Khazars. But then eventually, and I've literally got it from a Jewish website, right? A Jewish website. And people still write in the comments of that video, and they're like, oh no, the Khazar thing's a myth. Are you serious? Anyways, so if you want to complain about the Khazar thing, go to that video and complain in the comments there, because all the information's in there that you need from Jewish sources. Anyways, and then basically what happened is the Khazars converted to Judaism. And so the Jews were the Ashkenazi were a very small percentage of the Khazar population. And then all of a sudden all Khazars were Jews. And then so that's why you got these Ashkenazi who all look like white people, you know, and there's just no genetic link. And then, you know, I go into the Sephardic but they're a tiny percent of the population of Jews in the world right now, and definitely in Israel too, almost negligible, we'll say. And so, if you understand those arguments, it's a difficult argument to make because it's so complex. But this is the argument against them saying they're the genetic chosen people who there's no Jew gene, we'll just say, right? Now, at this part of the argument, they could also take a different path, right? And they could say, well, they're the inheritors of the Levitical religion. Okay? So, yeah, they've fallen away, but now we're talking about Judaism, right? And so Judaism is God's chosen people, those people, right? Now, I've showed before that there's nothing of the Levitical religion left in Judaism, right? Judaism was off break, and it was Babylonian and all their Baal and stuff. It was all of that paganism, and it was the bad kind of paganism, and like the child sacrifice type stuff that they were doing with Baal and stuff like that. And the Levitical religion tapered off, and then Jesus came and then continued the Levitical tradition. And if you just want simple evidence without even going to my reference videos that I'm going to mention in a second, just say, where's their sacrifices in Judaism? How many sacrifices do they make, right? If they're a continuation of the Levitical religion and the Messiah hasn't come, then where your sacrifice? No, they've just completely changed it to a merit-based thing. In Christianity, where's your sacrifice? Jesus Christ. I mean, it's pretty obvious, right? It's a continuation of the Levitical religion, and Judaism is not. But I'm gonna just do a second group of videos, and I will say, so on the first one, I'll see what I said. I said ethnic argument, I believe I said, and then on this one, I'll put Judaism argument. And then I'll put a batch of references below that of different older videos that we've done. And it's like, what part of the Talmud do you think is part of Levitical religion? Do you think it's if you're 3 years in a day, if a kid's 3 years in a day, you can have relations with them and it is nothing? Do you think that's part of Levitical religion? You know, the circumcision by the rabbi with his mouth, and I mean, on the baby, like, do you think it's the Talmud stuff is just sick, right? And I'm going to put a bunch of videos down there, and it's a disgusting subject. But if you take a look into the Talmud, you quickly recoil in moral disgust, right? And you cannot think that that has anything to do with the Levitical religion. Okay, and Victor even pointed out, right, in one of his videos that he was covering this, so I think that, I think it's part 2 of the series, that when we did the 3-part series. The third part is not available, the Anti-Semitism one on YouTube. You'll have to go to Rumble or BitChute to see that one. But and it will be in the description of this video if you find this video there. But basically, he even quoted a rabbi in that video saying, at the end of the Babylonian captivity was the end of Hebrewism and the beginning of Judaism. Because the Levitical religion, also Hebrewism, another word you could use for it, was a completely separate thing. You could just do a brief cursory look into the Talmud. You can go download the whole Talmud. It's not that. You can go to websites where they just, I'll put a good link to a website in the description below under references, right? So it's probably the only reference for this video, I think. And it just goes over verses, and then you can download a Talmud side by side and look at all this stuff in there. It has nothing to do. So basically, I'm just saying that these are the 2 ways that you make the Christian Zionists understand that they shouldn't support Israel. It's either the way that is them saying they're the ethnic chosen people. It's easy to disprove because it's so disprovable, but it's difficult because it's a long story, even condensed, you know? And then the other one is they're the spiritual inheritors. And then with that case, you just go to what is Judaism? What does it look like? You know, it's something disgusting. If you have just any good morals at all. Anyways, that's what I got for you. Now, this one is very subjective, this episode. This is not guaranteed to be the right way to do it. You might have better ways. I'm interested in any comments you guys got. This is the best Victor and I could come up with, brainstorming and trying to figure out, like, I would say family members who are Christian Zionists, we'll say, how would you approach them? And this is what we got. I'm really interested in hearing what you guys got to say, and see you next week.